Yeah,
We pushed you over the edge, Chris.
come to the dark side.
They hard with these things,
Luke
man.
Skywalker. I'm an asshole, just so everybody knows. Well, welcome to another Friday night edition of Force Connect, the only live Star Wars
Easy for you to say.
Sometimes we do it in different languages. It just doesn't matter. We do it, actually, I think that was a variation of Huttese. A lot of people don't realize that I'm fluent. I'm not. I have no idea what's going on. Nick, Chris, how you doing, boys? Chris, how are you?
Boy, I just made it here in time while the intro was playing.
Yeah, he dropped in like a paratrooper.
Exactly.
Well, I'm
so
glad you made it. And Mr. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
I'm also doing well, although I have some weird gremlins going on my computer right now. But hey, we love Gremlins. That was a fun movie. Remember that one?
That was funny. I believe that Baby Yoda ripped off the Gremlins. Is that what I read this week? Joe Dante was saying that again for some reason.
Yep, exactly.
Whatever. Something. There's always something in the Star Wars universe, which is why we're here, so that we can talk about all of it. We'd like to welcome you to hang out with us, and we will put the link in the chat. We want to hear from you live. We want to hear from everybody. We welcome all opinions here on Star Wars. We just have the no asshole policy, and that's okay. That's all right. Easy. It's pretty easy. You can have a differing opinion. We actually would love to hear differing opinions, but we're excited to have you with us. We are going to be spending at least a portion of tonight talking about Star Wars Visions Volume 2. It feels like everybody who has a Star Wars talk show this week did that. So that's a great opportunity for you to call in and give us your opinions. We have some opinions on it as well. Jedi Survivor, we're probably going to talk a little bit about that as well, because holy cow, that has taken up all of my life, all of Chris's life, and a good deal of Nick's to a degree. We'll get a sense from people in the chat if we can talk spoilers or not on that. We'd love to hear from you and let us know if you think that's okay. We're also going to... we'll just kind of talk about anything happening in the Star Wars world. But before we get started, I just want to remind everybody to do that thing where you follow us on all your social media channels at the SSW Network. You can head on over to our website at the SSWnetwork.com. You can also go to our Facebook page if you still use Facebook, like those of us who are over 35 years old. Please go there. We did hit 150, so that reminds me. Next week, how about next week? We'll give away something. So if you're not following us on Facebook, go do that, and you have a chance to win something. We're not sure exactly what. And, of course, you can go to our merch shop, which is sswnetworkshop.com, and you can always pick up things like T-shirts and mugs and stickers and water bottles and sweatshirts and whatnot. So, but thank you for being a part of our family. You can also join our Patreon program for as little as $3 a month. You can be part of the live virtual audience when we record around the galaxy. And I can tell you, we won't tell you who, but I can tell you we have a guest coming up in just a couple weeks that if you're not a patron, you're going to kick yourself if you're not part of that conversation, because we've spoken to her before, and she will pay attention to what's happening in the chat. She will take notice of what you have to say. All we'll just say is if you've been playing Jedi Survivor, you're going to want to come and hang out with us in just a couple weeks. Yes.
Hey, and can I add a little incentive to the Patreon talk?
Yeah, please do.
This is not officially in the paperwork, in the materials, the pamphlet you get when you join. You don't get a pamphlet, don't worry about it. But we kind of unofficially last week added a new incentive to being a Patreon member. And I feel like today is the night we make it official.
Okay, sure.
We have our really awesome 2-minute takes that you get to do when you call in, when you join the show. We want to hear from you. But last week, in honor of our good friend JD, who joined us late in the show, if you are a patron, if you're a Patreon supporter for as little as those $3 a month, when you call in, you don't have to have the 2-minute timer.
Right. Doesn't mean we're not going to.
There.
Doesn't mean
there isn't incentive enough. You get unlimited time.
Unlimited power.
Unlimited time.
No, it doesn't mean we're not going to cut you off.
Yeah.
Unlimited.
We'll throw a little Mace Windu and throw you out the window if it goes too far.
Yeah, if you just keep going and going and going. Yeah.
As a patron, you are not subjected to the 2-minute timer. So we're going to incentivize it just a little bit more.
I think that's worth $3 a month. I think
mean, totally.
You know,
Totally there. See, JD approves.
JD approves. All right, excellent. So as we do every Friday, because for the most part, these are usually pretty long weeks, and we're ready to sip on some alcohol. I'm going to turn it over to you, Nick, to do our weekly toast. Then we'll take a quick break, and we'll just jump into some stuff. But Nick,
outstanding. Well, I'm going to toast tonight to 3 gentlemen. And I'm just going to give you a quick little background, quick little history. In 1806, Noah Webster, some of you have heard of Noah Webster, published his first dictionary. It was called a Compendious Dictionary of the English Language.
Okay.
In 1807, he embarked upon what would end up being 2 decades of intensive work to expand it into a fully formed dictionary of the English language. As a part of doing that, in order to help learn the etymology of the words he was going to include, he learned 26 different languages. I don't know about you guys, but I speak 26. Like one not very well and like parts of other ones. So we have Noah Webster. In 1831, brothers George and Charles Merriam opened a printing and book selling operation in Springfield, Massachusetts, which they named the G&C Merriam Company. We have heard of these guys as well. Well, in 1843, Noah Webster died, and the Merriam brothers bought the rights to his dictionary. And then in 1964, Encyclopedia Britannica. Kids, if you're watching this, encyclopedias were old books that had information about the things that you used to look up on, that you do look up on the internet.
It was like Google on paper.
Exactly.
It's like holding Google in your hand.
It's like holding Google in your hand.
So in
1964, Encyclopedia Britannica bought the rights to Merriam-Webster. And then in 1982, the name of the company officially became Merriam-Webster. So we have this history, we have this journey that without these great men and the hard work that they did, we would not know the meaning of definitions of words, such as, just for an example, the word shill. In case you don't know, you need the official word. The definition of the word shill is to act as a spokesperson or a promoter, as per Merriam-Webster.com.
Right.
And thus, if we didn't know the definition of that word, we wouldn't know how many people use it so incorrectly online every single day, referring simply to someone who likes something. And there we have endless humor opportunities, as one of the ones that we encountered earlier this week. So tonight, I am raising my toast on Force Connect to Noah Webster, to George and Charles Merriam, and to all of the dictionarians out there in the world helping us see dum-dums online using words incorrectly. Cheers.
Excellent.
And happy Star Wars.
Happy Star Wars.
It's a term of endearment, you masked monkey.
It's a classic example of when you take something and you turn it around and you own it. You take ownership of it. So, well, that's great. So we are going to post the link into the chat in just a few moments. But first, we're going to take a real quick break. And when we get back, we're going to start talking a little bit about some of our favorite pieces of Star Wars Visions.
Pete Fletcher of ATG Cast is a Disney shill. Oh yeah, big time Disney shill.
I believe that you are a certified daddy. Like Pedro Pascal's a daddy. Like,
right.
Certified daddy.
He interviewed this guy. Like, how does this guy, who's not even monetized on YouTube, get this interview?
So how did you know? Because I'm a nerd.
The only live Star Wars fan talk show that takes your calls. Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
You will not meet nicer people. Whoop, I'm going to point up there and there.
Where's something that he was shilling? I know I saw some bad stuff from him this week. He got another interview. What a shill.
Yeah.
And now, I get to cap it off with the best of all and be coming back to a show that I dearly love and admire. So thanks for having me.
We keep it honest and real, make room for constructive disagreement, and have a zero tolerance for jerks.
I'm an asshole, just so everybody knows.
We are OG OT fans.
Wedge was obviously a character that you had to use if you were going to do Rogue Squadrons.
And we recognize the gift of Star Wars living on for another generation and beyond.
The galaxy isn't growing to push people out. It's growing to let more people come in.
I'm not seeing anything like too shilly, even though it's bad. See, he knows he's a shill. He embraces that he's a shill.
No.
No one watches his channel, and he's getting all these interviews on his channel. How does he pull that off? He's definitely connected, and he's a shill.
I have had the best time ever on Around the Galaxy. Thank you so much.
And we're back. It's again, if you want to feature me on your show, as they did earlier this week, I'm gonna have a little fun with it. So anyway, let's move on beyond the masked brave.
Oh, it's working. It's working.
Okay, there it is. Yes. Angry Tasty Cakes is like, not only am I going to keep my streak alive, but I'm going to take advantage of the time. So
I've got some things to say, and you people are going to hear me.
You cannot. I will not be silenced. I will not be silenced.
Costanza's dad. Can I just say? So for Kylo Ren, was it that
Kylo Ren? Oh, I love it.
So
yes.
Was it that we're not a gaggle of a-holes, so maybe that's why we get interviews with people within the Lucasfilm and all that? Could that be it?
Yeah,
we're not a bag of douche canoes.
So I mean, it's JD might be onto something here too.
Yeah, JD saying when you have to criticize people in a fake mask, you can't expect to be taken seriously. It's true. It is true, and yeah, I mean, listen, there's just so we could really take a deep dive into it. Maybe we will one night, but just the amount of hatred for Star Wars, and the reality is it's not hatred for Star Wars. And I'll bet you if you were to get any of these people in there on the side and talk to them, they love not all of it. I mean, the reality is, look, we'll be honest, we don't love every single thing that comes out. But there's no sense, there's no point, there's no value other than clickbait and Google or YouTube dollars to get up here and complain. And that's, we could do that. I think we could, but why?
We've had this conversation before. We've said if we wanted to go into all the bull crap, we could have multiple thousands of subscribers, but I'm not here for that. There's no part of that interests me. I love what our friends at Yubnub podcast say, and I talk about them a lot. They say it's a Star Wars podcast for people who actually like Star Wars. It's that simple. We like Star Wars. There is a way to be constructively critical, but you don't have to be an asshole about it. It's not that hard.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about things that we don't need to be critical about, but we want to talk a little bit about, which is Star Wars Visions with season 2, which dropped on May the 4th. As we said, a lot of people talked about it this week. We talked about it on May the 4th when it dropped. We were able to actually on the 3rd, we were able to share some interviews that we had with, because we're shills, we were able to get some interviews with some of the executives. And we started talking about it. But this is the first time we're talking about it here on the show. Star Wars Visions was very different this time around. And I think, to me, the number one difference was the fact that it was not all anime. And as I said on our review show, I have nothing against anime. I've just never been an anime fan. And I've tried. I really have, because I got a lot of friends who are really into it. And I recognize the beauty of the art form. I recognize the storytelling styles are really cool. You can see the Star Wars influence from the Japanese style of storytelling, but I could never get into it. So I watched season 1 of Visions probably once, and I don't know that I've gone back. I've watched the Duel and the was it the Ninth Jedi? I've watched that one more than once. This season, they stepped outside of anime. In fact, there's only one that's really kind of a true anime style of the 9, and they brought to us stories being told from all around the world, from studios all around the world, from Ireland and India and France and South Africa and South Korea, just to name a few. And it really brought home the fact that the Star Wars story, the Star Wars world, works globally, truly globally, right? And I think the reason I enjoyed these more, and then I'll throw it to you guys for your opinion, is because of the fact that it's not canon, and I'm not watching it like I watch a Mandalorian episode waiting for that canon connection or to help continue the story that I've become so invested in. We're able to go into these stories, and if you haven't watched them, we will probably get a little spoilery, but there's really, there's nothing that's really too spoilery about any of them in particular. But one of the great things is you're getting a Star Wars story for the first time, and you're going in without any expectation. You can truly let the story wash over you and enjoy the story all on its own. So I enjoyed this version more. Not to bother Chris, we did get Nick and I did get the screeners, but I've watched it since, right? And so it's really worked for me as a fun storytelling. Chris, I know you haven't had a chance to watch all of them, but what's your immediate sort of feeling about Star Wars Vision Season 2?
Well, I think one of the reasons why, all right, so the main reason why I haven't watched them all yet, and I did watch Spy Dancer before I popped on tonight. Yeah. And that's probably maybe the best one of the bunch.
It's really good.
It's excellent. But I am an old school otaku. I'm an old school anime fan. And I prefer, man, I hate to be like that, but I prefer the first one. But this one is but this one is still amazing. Like just seeing these different cultures and their different takes on Star Wars has been fantastic to see. And hopefully that's something that, for canon, where they may not be able to take the story outright, they can take bits of things and incorporate that into main canon. But let's see, what have I haven't watched. I think the last one. I think that may be the only one I haven't watched yet. Everything else I'm caught up on.
Okay, so did you see Bandits of Golok, the Indian one?
Make that 2 one.
Okay, and I'm looking at the list. I'm looking at the list because of if you went in order, you have 3 left. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. I watched the first one, and then I watched the Spy Dancer. Yeah, I watched the first one, and then I watched the one from the African studio.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I watched those
South
2.
Africa.
Yeah, South Africa, and it was phenomenal. This one, the Spy Dancer, still, and it was a French studio. But that still had a very anime feel to it, because it reminds me a lot of, there's an anime and a manga called Lupin the Third, and it's like this master thief, and then there's this detective that's chasing him, that's one thing. But that show, that anime, that manga has serious like French overtones and whatnot. Like it's just, a lot of inspiration comes from that.
But yeah, something else I would say, something else that I loved about that one, and it spoke to me as a history nerd. If anybody has ever heard of Mata Hari was a Dutch dancer who was a spy in World War I and was executed ultimately by the Germans or somebody. And there's so many parallels that mirror this, exotic dancer who is a spy and who has this other, the deception and the, misdirection because of being a dancer, and the way that played out, that immediately as a history nerd pinged as what a great, pull if that was a part of the inspiration.
Yeah. But the reason why, normally when it comes to Star Wars stuff, you guys know I'm there 3 a.m. watching it. I treat everything that comes out like it's the first time I'm seeing a Star Wars movie. That's just how I am. Comics, books, shows, all that stuff. The reason why I went so long without watching it, it's really for 2 reasons. One, if it's not canon, I'm not seriously worried about it.
Right.
But what I will watch it and enjoy it, I keeps it canon. But I'm not like trying to be like a gatekeeper or anything like that when it comes, But the other reason is Cal Kestis has he has kept me from
taking
doing
everybody by
a
storm.
lot of things. Like there's so much I didn't get done. I'm backed up on so many things I should be doing or watching because of Cal Kestis.
And it's all because you just keep changing his haircut.
I keep changing the haircuts. Yeah, you got to change clothes. You can't run around. You can't do what he does and run around in the same clothes all the time. You want to be super funky.
Got to change.
The best part about Survivor in the Fletcher household is I purchased it on both Xbox and PS5 because I knew my son was going to want to play it, and I wasn't going to want to wait. And honestly, like he's got a much better attention span than me, so I can't even like wait for him to go to bed because then I'll be like, all right, I'll go to bed too. But the funniest part was the first weekend we were shouting back and forth across the house. We were like, "Hey, did you get to?" And then it's like, "Don't spoil it." And then he'd like run up to where I was and be like, "Oh, where'd you find those pants? That's awesome." And then I'd go down and be like, "Hey, where'd you find that lightsaber handle?" So I finished the story and I'm back to now. I'm just trying to do all the side quests and I'm just loving playing in the world.
It's so deep, man. Like it's
it
so
is.
Well, and
deep.
let me go ahead and ask this question because you're talking about it, because I know we're going to have some callers in a minute, and I do want to continue to talk about Visions a little bit, but we can talk about Survivor as well. In the chat, give us kind of a heads up. Are you okay if we talk some spoilers with Visions? I'll kind of take a majority. If we're one way or another, then we may dial it back. But give us kind of an idea of if you're okay with talking about the game, because again, we're going to get into it in a couple weeks. We've got an awesome guest lined up to talk about it, but in the meantime, we want to know how to get into it tonight and not mess anything up for anybody.
So let's get back to Visions then. So Nick, which I know which your favorite episode was, but talk to me about why the Bandits of Golak worked for you, because it worked for me as well, but for slightly different reasons, I think.
For me, honestly, with the Bandits of Golak, this was the Indian studio, 88 Pictures, I believe it's called. And I love the story. And one of the things I think that is so neat, and I agree with you, Pete, like I was one of those people, I enjoyed Vision season 1, but not being an anime guy, like it didn't necessarily connect deeply with me. Stories did.
Right.
Ninth Jedi, fantastic. Honestly, the one with Toby 1, that one I really loved that one a lot.
Yep.
The Tatooine Rhapsody was fun. The first one I think was my favorite. Is that the duel? Was that the first one?
Yeah.
Yes. That one I think was my favorite. Village Bride, fantastic. Like is good stuff. And as I'm saying it, I'm going, I need to go back and watch some of these. But season 2 appealed to me for the same reasons you're talking about. Different countries, different studios, different styles. Because Star Wars has such a rich history of being visual. And one of the things that I think that we don't talk enough about with the sequel trilogy is how beautiful those movies are. The cinematography just goes up and up and up. Like these are gorgeous movies to look at. So I love the aesthetics of Star Wars, even in the original trilogy. There's so much that's beautiful about stark white Imperial hallways and, dark metal, shiny floors. I mean, Ralph McQuarrie art, it's one of the things I talk about all the time. The visual nature of Star Wars really does make up 40% of what I love about Star Wars, maybe. So this gives me that, and honestly, I tried to kind of rewatch some the last day or two, getting ready for tonight. Sith, that very first episode, the art episode, is really cool. Like I love that. Rewatching that a second or third time, really brilliant. But you asked about Bandits of Golak, the Indian short. It's big Indiana Jones vibes. It's big Temple of Doom vibes, and not just because it kind of has an Indian thing to it, but it's adventure. There's a train scene. There's, I love the reveal of the old lady who's the Jedi who fight, and that Inquisitor was awesome. The green skin and the red eyes. Like there's so much in that one that appealed to me from a kid who grew up with Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Like if those two worlds could smash together, as I did when I played and pretended growing up as a kid, like that's what it would have felt like. So I loved that. And I did love looking at kind of the big picture of Vision season 2 and seeing different themes than we saw in the first season.
Right.
There's a lot of family stuff, but not necessarily found family. It was like sibling stuff, the mother and the daughter in the Aardman short. Of course we get Dennis Lawson, but like mother-daughter, lots of sibling in this one, but also like kyber crystals, not necessarily lightsabers, but kyber crystals played a big role in a lot of these shorts, whether they were being mined, whether they were, an owl song, her ability to, her song, could affect the crystals, and that, like, there's so many neat components of that. But then also you get the real world sense of, like, not only the Empire, like Chris said in the Spy Dancer, like that had a very like World War I, World War II, like Imperials in Germany, you could see those parallels. You could see those things running alongside each other. And what is going on in the rest of the world while that's happening? You've got a nightclub full of bad guys because they're in their off time, but there's still stuff going on. The Pit, which was the partnership between Lucasfilm Animation and the Japanese studio, that had a very real world, people working, not being seen by a society, that's benefiting from the work that they're doing. Like that had very real world social, that kind of stuff. There's so much in it. And I think, like I said, it appealed to me even more because of the variety of the visuals that we got.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the reason Bandits of Golak worked for me, and it was very similar to, I think the reason why they all worked, but in particular Bandits of Golak, was because the first thing that struck me was, okay, where it truly immersed in Indian culture here. Like, and so that was my first kind of response was, okay, what I felt the Earth culture, but very soon into it, I forgot all about that. And it was just a Star Wars story. Right. And it's very similar to Spy Dancer as well, in that it felt like it was a different Earth, and even the Aardman one. But if I'm being honest, the Aardman one didn't work for me. I expected to love that one because I'm a huge fan of Wallace and Gromit and that sort of thing, but it didn't work for me. And that's probably because maybe that storytelling maybe for the same reason why people don't like The Last Jedi, because the humor hit them differently, right? The humor here didn't work for me. But Bandits of Golak was a Star Wars movie in 15 minutes. It was like top to bottom, and it didn't matter where they were telling it from. And I think, again, that's one of the things that came through to me from this season of Visions is the Star Wars story. The reason it's a global phenomenon, the reason, like, I think we forget, because let's face it, we're ugly Americans, and oftentimes we just think of the world from our perspective. And then you're like, oh yeah, so it does billions of dollars worldwide, but whatever, that doesn't matter. But you see that the reason it does, and the reason why another franchise doesn't, is because these stories just work in this environment. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with that.
I'm gonna have to watch that one next. I think that was next up anyway, like right after Spy Dancer.
It is.
So yeah, I'll do that one next. If I can say, my only issue with this Visions is the same problem I had with the first season, and that is way too many lightsabers.
Yeah.
There's so many more aspects of Star Wars that is not being touched on. Bounty hunters, smuggling, the criminal underworld, the political stuff, just all these different worlds and whatnot, and just different types of organizations and people out there. And everything is, except for the standout for me was the Wallace and the I Am Your Mother.
Yep.
The I'm Your Mother one is because not one lightsaber. No one used the Force. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was hoping would happen if they ever did a second season for Visions, would be, less lightsabers, less Jedi, less Sith. And I mean, I get it. I get why why they do it. I mean, if you had the opportunity to do some lightsaber stuff, do it. But I would just love to see more aspects of the Star Wars universe.
Awesome. No, and I think it's again, we a lot of our friends did some really great deep dives, and there's an episode on the podcast stream and also in the YouTube stream where we take a deeper dive into Visions. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you thought of Visions. We want to hear what you thought about anything happening in Star Wars this week. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to take your calls. We'll be back in just a second with more Force Connect. We are back. We are talking about Star Wars, everything Star Wars, Star Wars Visions, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Nick, was there any sort of vibe in the chat about whether or not we could talk spoilers or not?
Let me look and see. I don't really think there was anybody speaking.
All right, if you don't,
no objections. So
okay, all right. Well, then
we may just proceed on.
So we have to talk about Han Solo coming. Oh wait, no, he didn't come back in this game. That was Battlefront 2.
The decaying bones of Han Solo.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're gonna get to your calls. Remember, if you're a patron, we're gonna withhold the clock from you. But let's start with our first caller of the night.
Greetings, Exalted One.
There he is, Cal Kestis Ripken himself.
What is up? How are you? Good to hear from you. Good to see you. How's life? How's your? Do you have a visions comment? What's your before we get started? I know that you got another.
Most of my ideas about the new season of Visions is an honest to God. I'm going to touch on 2 episodes I didn't talk about. I'm going to go into a completely different tangent.
All right.
All
right. So here we go. You're on.
Right off the bat, I really enjoyed the Screech of Reach episode, but
yes,
the
my
switch.
favorite.
I think it was fantastic. He had such great mood. I just want more of that. I also really love the story with the 2 sisters. You have the ones on the bottom dealing with the machine, the Empire. It's very clearly doing parallels to exploitation of native people, whatever origin.
The In the Stars episode. Yep.
Okay, my tangent.
Here's your tangent.
I love Jackson.
You love what?
Jackson. Jaxx.
Oh, the Green Rabbit. Yes.
Yes, the Green Rabbit. I think too many Star Wars fans are ashamed that he exists. And I'm just like,
well,
Star Wars is silly. You need to get over it. It's silly. It's very weird. Okay.
Love Jackson.
It's a good kind of weird. It's a good Star Wars weird.
I'm just like, and for people that don't know, he started in the original Marvel Comics 70s run.
Yep.
Before Disney had acquisition over the Lucasfilm property, they released him like as soon as the first movie after it was released, they adapted it in the first 6 issues, and then Han Solo had his own Inglourious Bastards, lame team called the Starhoppers of Aduba 3. And a green Bucky O'Hara style rabbit was a member of the team. And before, he's a rabbit, he looks so weird. This dude is a badass in the series. He gets so much butt in the series. And I'm tired of people putting disrespect on his name.
Well, you are talking to 3 big fans of Jackson, so we are.
Yeah, I'm saying something super positive about Legends. Be happy that I'm finally talking about something from Legends, not just talking about canon all the time.
Well, he is canon now, right? Am I right?
Yes,
Chris.
A version of him is canon. The Starhoppers are not canon, but he was put into the Star Wars. Was it DW? IDW theory. That's mostly targeted towards kids. They didn't know how to properly market Star Wars comics back in the day, but I think they're much better at dividing different audiences. Like, okay, this is for them. And if you want this, it's over here.
That's right. He's over there. I love Jackson, though. I love Jackson, just not the Green Rabbit. But I love Jackson. Not a fan of the Green Rabbit, but I love Jackson.
So it begs the question: if we're going to pick one that's better / weirder than the other, is it Jackson or is it Hohas Equesh, who is the horse X-wing pilot?
Repeat that.
There's an X-wing pilot that has a horse's head, and his name is Hohas Equesh. You can look it up. It's a thing.
Is this also?
Okay,
EU?
Check our Wikipedia friends for sure.
Like I know in canon, there's a tiger-headed Jedi. He's just the head of Tiger.
Yeah, he's
that's
fine.
a weird one. That's a
He's
weird
not
one.
goofy.
But I'm just like, get over yourself. It's silly. Like, it's something that's always been intended for kids, but adults love it too.
It's sort of like Star Wars.
Even as a kid, when I was grabbing those old Star Wars comics, I was like, "This dude is stupid." Like I was like 7, 8 years. I'm like, "This is dumb. Why is there a Bugs Bunny in here?" But I understand. Like other people have different tastes and whatnot.
Yeah. Let's get a Jackson Disney Plus series. We're gonna get him older. He's gonna be played by Antonio Banderas. Let's get this happening.
Well, I would say
Star Wars.
See, Chris kind of agrees. He's like, that's the worst thing I've heard today.
Knowing Chris's day, it's probably not the worst thing he's heard all day. So,
but I'm glad you could have me and let me go slightly over time.
That's all right. We love you, buddy.
Once again, if you want to know most of my opinion, including my dad's, just go to Honest to Clyde. We have our second episode up. Better audio.
Awesome. Can't wait to check it out, buddy. All right, take care. See ya.
I'm just going to say, of the things that if you had created a bingo card for tonight that we were going to talk about, Jackson wasn't on my list. I didn't know it was coming.
I have to say, when I see Eric pop up in the back before we bring him on, I'm like, this is going to be good. It's always good.
Zillow Beast, Jackson, you don't know what you're going to
What
get.
about a Zillow Beast Jackson clone? That would be interesting. Maybe now I'm just going a little too far. Well,
how tall would he be? Like 6'3", something like that?
Yeah, probably.
I would say 6'3".
Well, on that note, let's bring up. Hey, Samir, how are you?
Hey.
Let's bring in our next guest, who, incidentally, has become a patron in the last 30 minutes. So let's bring him in, Nick, shall we?
He gets the good one. Here we go.
Go for Papa Palpatine. You have a collect call from
Darth Vader.
I gotta take this. Hold on.
Welcome aboard, new patron friend. How are you?
There he is.
I'm doing fine. No, okay, so listen, it was a coincidence. I've been meaning to sign up for a while.
Yeah.
My wallet was always in the other room. Okay. In my other pants.
Likely story.
Yeah, remind me not to bring Angry Tasty Cakes out for dinner if he says he's paying.
My wallet's in my other pants back home.
The wallet grab, the ass grab. What's going on, man? How are you?
Better now that I got Survivor working.
Yeah, I'm glad you got Survivor working.
I had to wait 3 patches in before it would work.
Were you trying it on PC? Was that your problem?
Well, so I bought it first on PC, and I got 20 frames. It was unplayable in certain sections, like when you have to parry certain attacks and stuff like that. It's very like frame oriented on the higher difficulties.
Okay.
And it became unplayable. So I was like, nah. So I got a refund for it, and then I bought it on the Series X, and it wound up crashing on the Respawn title card.
Oh God!
Over and over, and I was like, no. So then I saw that they had fixed it like 3 patches in, and I was like, all right. And that's when I had tweeted out, like, I'm going to give it another try. And here we are. And, dude, I'm loving it. That crossguard saber is just...
Yeah. As soon as I got that saber, I'm like, well, that's what I'm sticking with for the rest of the game.
See, I went Ahsoka. I went two sabers through the whole game.
Did you change the color to white?
No, I didn't. I went orange because I'm a Flyers guy. So.
If you do white, they sound like hers.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well,
each color sounds
different.
Yep.
That's cool.
All right, I gotta go.
Peace out. Yeah. Well,
I'm looking at my Xbox right now. Like I should really be playing.
Well, mobile, you can play it through the cloud too. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Oh, don't tell Chris that. Oh God.
All right, Chris is out too, so now it's just me tonight. Sorry, people. You're
but no, Pete, I had a question for you actually.
For me, okay.
Before we dive into this.
Well, now that you're a patron, you're allowed to ask. So we'll see the perks, people. Do you see the perks? All right.
You no longer have to avert your gaze. You can look him directly in the eyes now that you're.
Yeah. So listen, I was looking through your profile on Twitter.
Oh no.
I didn't see anything shill-like. Okay, so now I have to ask: are you even a shill, and are you connected?
Am I even a shill? And yes, and yes.
Do you even shill, bro?
Do you even shill, bro? All right, there's a shirt. That shirt will be okay. I'm gonna make a note because I'm gonna do that as soon as we're off tonight. Yes,
it's just a barbell that says "Do you even shill, bro?" And it doesn't make sense that there's a barbell, but it doesn't matter.
That's a shilly.
That's
straight chilling.
Straight chill.
Almost messed up. Angry Tasty Cakes. Let me ask you a question. How far are you in the game? Where are you at?
I don't know how to talk about it without spoiling much.
Don't worry about Nick. He's
here's
not
the thing.
play it.
Here's the thing. I have a PlayStation 4, but I watched the 3 hour of all the cutscenes, so I know what happens. I'm good.
Okay, you did yourself a disservice.
All right, so
anyway,
anyone in the chat, if you have not played it, if you're going to, just cut the audio for a minute.
Like 3 minutes. That's your time.
All right, 3 minutes, probably. Yeah,
I'll do it in
Actually, hold on. Here's what we're gonna do. Pete.
I'm gonna start the timer.
Run the 2 minute timer for Tasty.
This is 2 minutes on Jedi Survivor. Here we go.
If you don't want to be spoiled on Survivor, mute and watch the timer.
This right now.
All right, you're up.
Okay, so I got to Jeddah. I am going through. I just collected the 2 devices. I'm about maybe an hour after you get the Crossguard Hill. I am getting into the safe house that they have on Jeddah. I'm stuck, however, at some goofy environmental puzzle that is probably staring at me right in the face, and I just can't figure it out. So I'm at the drill where it comes in through that front room, and then you have to do the first swimming section. I'm like right there, stuck on where you have to make your own door.
Yeah. And that's the one thing. Whenever I get stuck on something, like I always have to remind myself, look everywhere. There's some place you have not looked yet, where you can find an end. And once you find it's like, son of a bitch, that was so easy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Why didn't I see that?
You're like, oh, if I had just looked up to the left, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
I had one of those. I had one of those with one of the Batman games one time where it was the train yard, and literally I couldn't get out. Like 3 weeks of not being able to figure it out, and about throwing something out the window, and then it's like a crawl space under a train car. Like, what the hell?
It was a Riddler puzzle, wasn't it?
No, I don't know what it was, but it made me angry.
Yeah. But no, I'm liking it. I'm actually loving how we finally have a game though that is embracing the High Republic.
Yes,
that is very cool. Yep.
I'm loving it. Dagon Gera.
Great character.
I need more of him.
Ravis is amazing.
Well, and as
and Bode.
Yeah.
Bode.
Marin.
Bode.
Marin's top tier.
Marin.
I love Marin.
Well, you know, one of the things that I said, I tweeted it, and I mean it, is I am actually now curious about the High Republic. Like, I might actually go read some of the stuff as a result of this game. I said might, Chris. Let's not get too excited here.
If you're not a fan of
I'm not reading sadness. I don't need sadness.
It's not sadness. It's just despair.
And hopelessness.
It's tragedy and despair.
It's hopelessness
and hopelessness.
And lightsabers. So,
welcome back to everybody. Your 2 minute timer is up. If you haven't seen it, if you're still muted, you're good now.
You can come back. We'll
come back.
We'll move off of that. But what about Visions?
We're done talking about the fact that Jabba the Hutt had a lightsaber. It's
yes.
Okay. We're moving on.
Yes.
And a wife.
And it was also Pelimoto.
The whole game. It was Pelimoto.
Very rat-like.
Strange. All right. Since we don't have a timer, but we don't want to keep you here forever. We do. What are your thoughts on Visions?
I'm liking it much more than the first season.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a consensus that a lot of people have. Although I will say, I don't want to say it's the most polarizing, but like it's polarizing, but in a different way. Like it's not like the sequel discourse. Like this more of it's just like, I'm just not a fan of animation, or like this one didn't really do it for me. You know, stuff like that. Which I'm whatever. Okay, I can live with that. But I think for me, a lot of that negative discourse isn't so much the animation. I think a lot of people are having issues with how abstract it is. Like, if you look at Star Wars in general, like there's always like a beginning, a middle, and end, and a goal to go for. Okay, but in like these shorts, it's very like it's what you make of it. But to like the average viewer, they want something quick, concise, easy to follow. But they leave a lot of it open to your own interpretation. So, like, to a casual viewer, I can understand where you're like, nah, I don't want to think about it. I just want to hear flashy lights and, stuff like that.
Yep.
And I think that's the majority of it. For me, though, I'm digging it. I think Bandits. See, I didn't get Indiana Jones vibes from that.
Okay.
I actually got Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay.
Bandits. Which one was Bandits?
The train.
The Indian one I talked about.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet. Okay.
Yeah, very Lawrence of Arabia vibes.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I thought that was actually kind of cool. I really enjoyed Spy Dancer because I thought of it more as like the Inglourious Bastards, like the French Revolution, not Revolution, the French what's the word? The not separatists.
Sort of the revolutionaries or
the rebels.
The rebels.
The rebels. Yeah. There you go. And like how they had the movie at the end of Inglourious Bastards, and then they lit the whole place up, and they try to take out as many. And I thought that was really kind of Inglorious-ish, and I thought that was kind of cool. Screecher's Reach was neat, and I really like the idea how they sold, like how the Sith would manipulate people, like they would sell them on a dream. And that's how they got you, like their claws, and you're like, no, if you take this power, you can make something more of yourself. And I really like that aspect because it's not really something we see outside of Palpatine.
Right.
Well, and I loved in that one, and we had a couple of cameos. Obviously, we need Dennis Lawson. Somebody mentioned earlier, Steve Blum was in, one of them. Angelica Houston was the voice of the Sith Mother, which was a great, voice, something that was a great one to have. What was the other one I had? Oh, in Journey to the Darkhead, the South Korean one, Daniel Dae Kim, who he himself is South Korean, was in Lost with Hawaii Five-0. He was in that one. I'm trying to see what the other ones I had written down were. Oh, and then of course in the pit, Steve Blum is the commander. Matthew Wood was Stormtroopers, and then David Diggs, is in there as well, as Crux. So lots. I feel it's kind of like the equivalent to season 1 and the voice stuff because we had some really great, known actors, but then also bringing in the other talent. So it's neat to have those little nods tied into that. But you're right, Screecher's Reach was really, really good. That was Pete's favorite, kind of coming out of our first watches.
Yeah, and I think Screechers was my favorite, and then I watched all of them, and I was like, damn it. I really liked Ao's song. That was the last one in the bunch. I'm not going to say anymore because I want Chris to watch it.
Yeah, these two I have not seen. No,
but
I'm not going to say.
Wait, I thought you said you saw that one, Chris. That's the South African studio.
No, that was the pit, wasn't it? The one with the black people.
That's the
Japan. That's the combination between the Japanese studio and
the Japanese one.
Oh, okay. That one I watched. So I didn't watch it.
Okay. Ao's song is the South African. That's Triggerfish.
Yeah. But that one was really cool.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
I like
Triggered. I should go by the name Triggered Fish. I think maybe. Yes.
Chillfish.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well,
I'm impressed. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Let me ask you guys something real quick about the thing. Now, when I started watching it, I keep forgetting that it's its own thing. It's its own universe. They can do whatever they want. With the property, and I had to remind myself, like, that's not how that goes. That's supposed to be. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. And just watch and enjoy. Was that like that for any of you guys? Like right off the bat, and then had to kind of tell yourself no. This is their vision of Star
I think
Wars
with the first one, when Sith started, I was like, okay, something doesn't look right with that lightsaber. What's she doing with it? And then by the time that one ended, first of all, I was like, oh my God, they killed that droid, which pissed me off. And then of course she fixed him. But I was like, they can't do that. No. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like there is a little bit of wait a minute. I'm not used to this Star Wars story. This isn't the way. But
and it was neat because we asked that question in one of the I think James Waugh the interview. Or no, you asked it to Josh. Kind of the question about canon. What's off limits? What's not off limits when you do? Because these aren't canon stories. These are Star Wars stories, but you don't apply that lens to it, and so it really does open up the ability for them to go we just get to play. Like, and that's the fun of it. Like as kids, when we played with our action figures, there wasn't canon. We weren't going, "Ooh, Boba Fett can't do that." We were going, "Yeah, Boba Fett and He-Man, they can fly together because these are the toys I have." Like that's what we
That's
did.
how I played. Look, man. Look, Han Solo and Tomax from Cobra. Those guys were enemies when I was a kid. Like they fought all the time. I don't know how I remember that.
So Han Solo was a member of the G.I. Joe for you then?
No. It was all right. It's a weird thing. It was just this world where everything was in there, He-Man and all that stuff. But Han Solo and Tomax, or Zaymot. I'm sorry, Zaymot. They didn't like one another. They just fought all the time.
One of my favorite pictures I have. One of my favorite pictures I have is my son when he was like 3 or 4 years old. He made a Lego of Superman with Batman's cowl riding a Tauntaun. Nice. And that was like,
is it?
And I was like, there it is. Everything. Everything's happening.
I have on my desk Indiana Jones holding a lightsaber in reach at all times.
I mean, that makes sense, though. That makes sense.
How else are you going to cut open a Tauntaun in the 1920s?
But to say, like, that's how he saved Luke.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
or Sean Connery.
Well, we are going to go to our next break. Thank you so much, Tasty Cake, and thanks for being a patron. Absolutely. Thank you so much, and
thank you for joining.
You are going to love the couple shows we have coming up, and you'll be able to join us. I can't wait for that. But we're going to go straight to a break. Thank you, Angry Tasty Cakes. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'll be back in 1 minute with more Force Connect.
Is the next guest go?
All right, I'm doing this in one take. I hope you're all ready. All right. Do you like t-shirts with sayings and logos that are bordering on that very fine line of copyright infringement, but still very Star Wars in the way they do things? Do you like some of the weird stuff that Pete, Nick, and Chris say on their shows like Force Connect and Around the Galaxy? Of course you do. Then you need some of our t-shirts and mugs and stickers and sweatshirts, and I can't believe you guys are selling all this stuff. You can go to SSWNetworkshop.com, or you can scan the QR code in the corner there, and you can get this stuff. I don't know why you might want to, but hey, everybody likes a deal, eh? And since you like a deal, use code WATO20 and you'll get 20% off your order. That's right, use code WATO20. Head on over to SSWNetworkshop.com today or scan the QR code. I'll make you a deal, eh?
All right, we are back. We're taking your calls. We're talking about Visions. We're talking about Survivor. We're talking about anything you want to that is Star Wars. Nick, do you think we should bring in our next caller?
We can. 1 second. I'm going to put the link in the chat just in case.
In case anybody. Okay. Yes.
You want to join us? Here we go.
We want to hear from you.
Share your Star Wars thoughts.
Yeah. Join us. Let's hear it. All right.
Absolutely. Let me.
Nice, Woodsy.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's go. We're ready.
All right.
Hello. What have we here?
And here's what's funny about me saying we're ready.
Here's my guy.
And having that awkward pause is I forgot temporarily that I was supposed to run the video.
Yeah, you said you were ready, and I was like, I'm going to press it, and then he's going to press it, and then we're going to drop it, and that's the way it works.
Click, 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 click. Hey, D. What's up, my friend?
Gentlemen.
Hey,
cheers.
Hey, how are you doing, buddy? A premium level patron joining us this evening. Technically, he could. I think next week he could run the whole show if he wants to, based on. Right. But he's on the top level.
Don't
yeah, well, all right. It's probably not a great idea. But how you doing, my friend? What's going on?
I'm doing great. And you know what? I see Darth Melvin's cheesy dime store mask, and I will raise him a badass one.
There you go. There you go.
Hold that thought.
Oh,
yes, sir. There it is. Yeah. You got one up. You got one up on me, Nick, because mine won't fit on my big head. I can't do it.
Don't get helmets, man. I only have Vader. That's why I don't get helmets.
Does the Vader fit you? Because it barely fits me.
It's painful.
Okay, yeah, it's like pinches,
But-
right? It pinches
Like
a little
it
bit.
just like
Yeah.
it almost like rearranges my jaw. But
It's the neck thing.
But
Yeah.
It's the neck.
It could serve
Or my
as an
lack of
alternative
one.
version of orthodontist. Just get your jaw right.
Oh man, that's great. So JD, do you have any particular thoughts you want to join us with this evening?
You know, I was listening to Chris talk about, how you, when you watch Visions, you're kind of like, I wish some of that was canon, or I thought, I got to remember this isn't canon, or whatever. And my thoughts is I wish some of it was, because some of it's so cool
Yeah.
that I'm like, man, I wish it was canon, because it would be so interesting to see that in part of the universe and stuff like that, But I always thought of Visions when they first talked about it, and they said something. You guys remember Fantasia?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
The Disney.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always thought it was cool because I'm a fan of classical music like that, Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, stuff like that. And then when they brought in these artists and they interpreted the music into art, I'm like, that's cool. That's great. I love it. That's awesome. And then, now that they're doing that with Star Wars, I kind of give it the same idea of it's not necessarily the canon stuff, or it's not supposed to follow the same rules. It's just people's, it's like a sandbox for people to play in and go, how would I interpret it, or what would I do with it?
Yeah.
And my favorite one, and my favorite one was the Sith because of that, because they started out with the visuals, the art, how painting the pictures and that kind of thing. And I thought that one is a perfect way to start it off because there's so much duality between what she was going through and the art and the trying to change the bubbles and all that with what was some of the struggles that Rey was going through and what Luke was going through, even in Return of the Jedi and things like that. I thought it was a perfect metaphor for all of those things.
Yep. Yeah, and I also thought it was a really cool way to start, just because it's all about art. It's all about different art styles, and it also, that art style to me felt very much like Spider-Man in the multiverse, whatever they call that, when the into the Spider-Verse. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that stood out to me with that one is I loved, this is a concept we don't see a ton in Star Wars, which is a former Sith. Like former Sith is not something that we get a lot of.
Right.
And her whole thing, she's like, I'm not that anymore. But it also is kind of a neat parallel to episode 1, The Duel in season 1, where we have this roaming Sith who is kind of a Sith, but the blade is red. This is just a dude, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know, the entire
book is great.
Story.
The book is really
I've heard
good.
It's great. But it also creates that same thing of
I read
this
it,
isn't
Chris.
the traditional understanding of a
We'll
Sith
talk afterwards.
that we've had. So I thought that was kind of a neat parallel with those two also.
Wait a second. I gotta ask, Chris, did you not like that book?
We will talk afterwards.
Not in front of the kids. Pete.
Not in front of the kids. All right.
Stay on the Oopits thing.
All right, go ahead, JD. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I thought of that too. Was it with the Ronin? That was my favorite one from the first one too. And I've always thought of it was a cool concept of, that one and this one kind of go back to the whole thing about everybody always complains that, when Yoda and Luke are talking, he's always saying, "Oh, you are the last of the Jedi when I'm gone," but they don't take into account people like Ahsoka. Well, the Ronin is kind of the same way. The Ronin would be a Sith version of Ahsoka, where they're not necessarily Sith, but they're their own person.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's a reason why, when you see her in Mandalorian and whatnot, even her hilts, they're very reminiscent of a katana,
right.
And he has a kunoichi or almost like a samurai, without the armor kind of look to her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's got
absolutely.
Even on the hilt, she's got the diamond kind of design and everything.
The katana design. Yep. Everything. Her boots are tabi boots, which are
the toe. Are they the toe boots?
Yeah, the toe. Yeah, ninja will wear them and so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and even go ahead, JD.
I thought I read somewhere that they said that whole outfit was heavily modeled after a traditional samurai style outfit, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I was just going to throw in too, just to add to that, in the different versions that we've had of her, the longer saber and the shorter saber of the two, you have, and I forget the name, the katana and is it a shoto?
It's a Hotobo?
Yeah,
Shoto?
okay, so
I think Shoto. Yeah, I
yeah.
think.
I don't know enough to. I know just enough to be dangerous, but that was also another intentional, another intentional nod towards samurai culture and ninja, that kind of thing. And I love that about that, and I love that we get that through these different stories.
Yeah.
Painting that fun broad picture, and I love it begs a great question of what happens when somebody leaves, what happens
Right.
after this, what happens if you just want to stop.
Well,
Which is
it really reads like kind of a Star Wars what if you think about it.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and it's interesting too because I think people want to be mad at Luke Skywalker's story from The Last Jedi, but it's a similar kind of thing. It's a similar story to Ahsoka in that he didn't walk away, but how do you deal with the afterwards? Which is it's a story that, and maybe it's a story that as more mature fans, and I don't mean that in any sort of negative kind of connotation, but to people who have had more life experience, who you want, like you've gone through, you get to, like it's the whole concept of the midlife crisis, right? Luke Skywalker is in this point where he's like, well, now what do I do? I mean, I've done this, I failed here, I succeeded here. The expectation is this, I should do that, but how do you manage that? And that's the one thing I think from The Last Jedi that was missed was explaining how he got there. But those of us who have, who have been 50 years on this place, we know like these sort of things happen. So, but to bring it back to what you guys were saying, the Ahsoka story, she went through a lot in her 20-something years before the Jedi Council kicked her out, essentially, or she walked away, but kicked her out and then said, "Hey, you can stay." And she was like, "I don't think so." Yeah.
And honestly, it speaks to a real world concept that is not. There's a thing in religious cultures, not only Christianity, but a variety of religious cultures around the world, especially when those religious cultures have fundamentalist, conservative version, kind of the extreme version of something. There's a thing called deconstruction. And so you have had, I can speak to this, living in the American South where biblical conservative Christianity, has done a lot of issues and created a lot of damage for people. There's a thing where it's a thing called deconstruction, where essentially you're not necessarily abandoning your faith in your higher power, God, or whoever that might be, but the system itself that has been problematic and caused you harm is the thing that you are, unlearning, walking away from. And that speaks to me very much with the Ahsoka story, walking away from the Order. The thing, of course, a lot of it revolved around they didn't stand by her in a moment when she needed them, but being able to go out and still say, I believe in the Force, I'm connected to the Force, but it's not the same as being a Jedi. And I think that story speaks to a lot of people. And Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi was going through had already gone through, if we're being honest, he had already gone through his deconstruction, and he was living with the consequences of what that means in his life now. And then he found his new path forward that completed his journey, which is, again, incredibly powerful, and probably another reason why that story resonates with me so much, because I see so much, not only of myself, but people I know and love who have dealt with a lot of problematic things from culture and from organized groups such as religion. And that's why these stories mean so much to all of us, is because they do communicate on a one-to-one real world level.
For sure.
I think to add to yours, Pete, most people, when they have a midlife crisis, they buy a motorcycle or a boat. So
right. They don't and many of them would like to disappear to an island and not be bothered by anybody for many years.
Oh man.
And like Nick was talking, though, in this day and age when people demand, more comprehensive and better writing, better writing from their people, and more of a, stories that reflect more of like the times or what people are feeling or what, people are thinking, you would think that there wouldn't be as much backlash as like what The Last Jedi got with what Luke, with what happened to Luke, because it made him more human. It made him realize that he makes mistakes. And then, instead there's a lot of people that complain about it. And like I told somebody on Facebook the other day, They're like, well, we expect this, we expect that. I'm like, you don't get to expect anything.
Right.
You take what they give you, and then
shut
you can
up.
interpret it. Yeah.
Yes.
And the brilliance of it is, it was in the trailer for the movie when Luke Skywalker said,
Right.
"This isn't going to go the way you think."
They told you.
Well, Daisy Ridley even kind of spoiled it a little bit when she said you meet your heroes and it's not what you think. That was at I was at Celebration when she said that.
Yeah.
And it's like you saw
And
the
it's
trailer,
brilliant.
she said that, and I went, how did you not see this coming?
Yeah.
I don't know how people thought that Luke was going to be any other way, considering that he was nowhere to be found for the entirety of the Force Awakens until the very end.
Right.
Shunned himself off on this this hidden. He hid himself away from people.
Right.
That's not someone who's going to be like, I'm ready to lead the charge against the. Come on.
Yep.
They want Superman. They anyway. Let me stop.
Well, if there's no news next week, maybe we have a Last Jedi conversation. I'm dead serious. Maybe next week's episode is Last Jedi. Let's do that.
Look at Nick. He's like, yes.
Well, yeah. We'll talk.
All right. Well, speaking of talking, JD, you got anything else for us before we let you go?
I've been playing Jedi Survivor myself. I don't know, being a lineman, I don't know how you people find the time, but May and spring storm season, I don't have time for crap. So I'm jealous that you people have gotten as far as you have. I think it's a great game.
JD, I've foregone so much to play this game and just get through this storyline twice. I've beaten the game twice. I haven't.
For real, man. Come on. You're killing me.
Listen, I've given up so many things to play this. Like, people are like, hey, did you watch this show yet? Did you read that book? Like, working at a comic shop, I have to read certain things before someone spoils it for me. I have to see certain things before someone at the shop spoils it for me. I watched nothing because I've been playing this game.
In fact, if I can interject for 1 second, I'm going to take over the screen, and I'm going to add. Oh, sorry, Pete, I messed up your overlay here.
That's right, I got it.
That's right. You're good. What I'm going to do, because this is important, I'm going to ask all of our viewers to meet me over at camera 2 for just a minute. Guys, Chris Ryans gave us so much crap about early visions, and we got to see it, and we weren't rubbing it in. We were excited. We wanted to share. We wanted to review, and the time came for us to talk about visions. And what did Chris say to me? Dude, I haven't finished yet because I've been playing Survivor. We're equal here. It's fine. I don't hold a grudge. I expect my brother Chris doesn't hold a grudge. But we're good now. We're not going to hear that one anymore. That's all I need to say. I'll meet y'all back over at the other side.
Oh, you know what? Maybe part of it, Nick, was my how can I put this, Nick?
The children are watching, Chris.
I think I think part of it was just it's still my resistance. My so you guys getting to see it where I was like, I don't even want to see it now. How about that?
You know what? It's not even cool anyhow.
It's pretty much because Jedi Survivor just took over everything.
Totally.
And then I forgot. And then I was a bit of a hypocrite. I apologize. But you guys get to see before me. You didn't say anything. You said something on purpose, or like by mistake, and then I was like, "Those." They watched it without me.
Well, if you were a shill, it would work out for you.
Whoa.
You're not shilling hard enough.
I'm not. You're right. I'm not. I need to shill harder.
Well, JD, on that note, anything else you'd like to add before we let you go? And again, thank you so much for being a patron. And if you're watching or listening and you want to be a patron, just go to patreon.com/the SSW Network. As little as $3 a month. You can, do the thing.
Support the hashtag of Spark of Positivity.
There you go. Love it.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, my
friend. Good to see you, my friend.
We will see you next week.
Too.
Take care, buddy.
Yeah. All right, brother.
See you, fellas.
Yeah. All right. Love it. That was fun. That was
excellent.
A good conversation was had by all. So, Nick, we are coming down near the end here. We don't have are we no, we're not recording this week. We're recording 2 episodes next week. We are I will share one is Joe Barksdale, who was on the show about a year or 2 ago. Joe Barksdale he's I was thinking about it. There's 4 things that he is. I am 2 of them. He is he's a musician. He is a former NFL player. He is a comedian, and he is a Star Wars fan. And he's going to be back. He had one of the funniest bits. There's been a handful of times when I've recorded an Around the Galaxy episode where I was literally in tears laughing, and one of them was with Joe. I'll put a link up to it on Twitter tonight because we cut it out, but it is a very funny Rogue One commentary. It's hilarious, but he's going to be with us.
And here's an appropriate tie-in because William Hardy, our good
friend
that we know through the Bombad cast.
Bombad boy.
Good evening, William. Also, Joe Barksdale, where did he go to college? Louisiana
State University. Go Tigers.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Go Tigers.
So there's no new episode this week, but there will be 2 the following week. And the other one we are we're going to have some fun with. Go finish Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor before what is it? The 28th, right? May 28th. Yes. Finish it before then. Because we're going to be talking spoilers.
Join the Patreon and join us on Sunday, May 28th.
Yes, and Chris will be with us on Around the Galaxy that night as well. So
super excited about that.
So Christopher, what's happening on Bro Axiom this week?
Well, I believe there's a shooting the poodoo on Sunday. We got some comics, of course, coming out for quick shots for next week. Let's see, Star Bros. I think they have an episode coming out, and of course on Tuesdays. Axiom Gaming. I forgot which one they're playing. They played Dead Space last week, so I think it's either Fallen Order. Oh no, I'm sorry, Survivor or that God of War game for the PS5. I think they're playing one of those this week, or Last of Us. So who knows? Those 2 jabronis play a whole bunch of different games, and it's a good time. You guys should check it out.
Yes,
and tomorrow, and I will be recording an episode with Keith and Kerwin Yard.
Beautiful.
We're going to be talking about the Charles Soule Crimson Dawn trilogy, the final chapter with the Hidden Empire. We'll be talking about that and a few other things. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Very cool. And speaking of Philadelphia people, we will be it'll be an opportunity to hang out with Chris and I, and maybe Nick, hopefully Nick, and say hello at Philly Fan Expo. We did not find a spot on the stage, but we will find a spot in a corner somewhere to hang out. If from the South Jersey, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, we'd love to say hello and hang out with you and give you some stickers.
Not on the stage, but definitely in your hearts.
Correct, exactly. But that's coming up June 2nd and 3rd, I think, is the weekend for Philly Fan Expo. So we're going to be hanging out there. Kerwin and Keith will be on the podcast stage, by the way.
Yes, they are.
And other great things. We will be making some Podathon announcements in the next couple weeks. So be staying tuned for that, for the 4th annual Make-A-Wish charity event brought to you by all the great Star Wars creators that are a part of it. So with that, I think we've said it all. Nick, Chris, may the Force be with you.
Always.
We gotta sing.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.